Good afternoon. Welcome to maryisanewevangelization.com. And I'm going to talk about uh, gradualism and, in particular, fake gradualism versus true gradualism. According to Michael Voris, there's something called fake gradualism that he is accusing the bishops and cardinals of promoting a fake gradualism, which he says ultimately is meant to undermine the teachings of the church. He said that in his episode today, October 28th, I believe, that birth control, cohabiting, and enjoying perverted sex is the result of fake gradualism. Okay, so he said in his episode that what he's perceiving these cardinals and bishops want, including Worrell and Casper, is they want people who don't accept the church's teaching on birth control, cohabitation, or enjoying perverted sex. They want these people allowed to receive communion in the church. Okay, and Michael's saying, no, we don't want these types of people receiving communion in our church because they're trying to undermine Catholic doctrine. And then he compared people who use birth control, cohabitate, or enjoy perverted sex to a secular counterpart of child molesters. Okay, so from what I gathered from what he said is that child molesters can be compared to those who do not accept the church's teaching on birth control, cohabitation, or enjoying perverted sex, whatever that means. So child molesters. Okay, so basically if you follow his line of thinking, basically what I heard him say is that many cardinals and bishops who were wanting changes at this synod are actually in support of letting child molesters into the church and give them some time to rethink their views. That's a pretty bold statement. Okay, now obviously we have child molesters in the church, and they've been in the church, and they're still in the church, even though there's a cleansing going on. $4 billion later, there are definitely child molesters have been in our church. Okay, so basically what I'm hearing Voris saying is that these cardinals and bishops who want fake gradualism are in essence opening the doors of the church to child molesters. Now, my impression, and anybody who knows anything about what's happened in the Catholic Church, is that there have been child molesters in the church, and it has nothing to do with gradualism or fake gradualism. Okay? So the child molesters are in the church, and oftentimes they have been outspoken against birth control, cohabitation, and enjoying perverted sex. Right? So it's not about your beliefs. I don't think a child molester believes in molesting children. I believe that a child molester is either possessed, or they're so sick that they can't control themselves, and it has nothing to do with their beliefs. So Michael's comparison is is extremely strange, in my opinion. It's extremely unusual and extremely strange, and it really does. If what he's saying is true, if what he's saying that Cardinal Casper and Whirl and that these guys who are trying to find ways to welcome sinners into the church gradually, then ooh, I don't think so. Personally, I don't think so. I mean, if he's right, ooh, ooh, I don't think that's what they're doing. And ultimately, we know Michael came out and put Pope Francis right in the same category of these people, and then he repented of doing that. But the damage was done, and certainly, Michael is not beyond forgiveness. But all I'm saying is, the message you continue to send is one that is very upsetting. To even think that these cardinals and bishops that's their intention of letting child molesters back in the church after we've tried to clean up the church from child molesters. So, you can watch his episode today. It's called Revolution, and draw your own conclusions. But I think that, and even Pope Francis this weekend to the exorcist, he gave the exorcist the blessings. He says the devil is real, and please love these people who have become victims of the devil. So the people who have become victims of the devil oftentimes are involved in all kinds of perversion, and so we have to keep our children safe. There's no question about it. So inviting people into church who have been whatever, drug addicts or prostitutes or go-go dancers, whatever, to invite these people into church is a good thing. Okay, but that doesn't mean we don't protect our children. We do protect our children. We have to protect our children, and we haven't protected our children. So really, this is a problem. The Catholic Church is facing a serious problem right now. The Pope saying, open the doors of the church to sinners. We're all sinners, and we shouldn't think our sins are less offensive to God than someone else's sins. Okay, so but when you open the church to sinners, especially people whose sins are more obvious than other people's sins, then it does get us out of our comfort zone, because if you want these people literally to change their views on different moral teachings, someone's got to spend some time with them, and someone's got to teach them and love them and pray with them, open the Bible with them, go through scriptures with them. You just can't expect someone to come in and then automatically change their mind, and no one spends any time with them or loves them or cares for them. So I would say this. I would say that Pope Francis is saying the right thing. He is certainly right when he's telling people that Jesus wants sinners. We know that through the revelation of divine mercy. That's what Jesus wants. He wants sinners to come to his throne of grace. But everyone's got to pitch in, and everyone's got to help that process to happen. And that's where the gap is. Okay, apparently, people don't want to help, and so it's keep them out of the church because there's not enough people inside the church to help, and then our children are vulnerable to bad examples of people. So that's what we're looking at. So what if these cardinals and bishops are sincere about bringing sinners into the church? They need to lay out a plan in which people can get help, like legitimate help in each parish. Seriously, there should be an evangelization team in each parish, and you know, they should pay somebody to oversee that evangelization team, and you know, somebody who knows what they're doing and knows what they're talking about. That's not happening. I can tell you that right now. For the most part, that's not happening. So I think that's really what's going on here, is that those who are into doctrinal purity and moral purity, which in and of itself is great and it's super, they don't want to put the time and energy into helping people, overcome, the world, the flesh, and the devil. Okay, they don't, and the priests obviously aren't interested either, unless you have some very rare, circumstances. I'm talking about America here. So that's why a lot of these people don't feel welcome, because no one says hello to them. They're made to feel uncomfortable, unwanted. So they move on. They move on, and if they truly desire God, they're going to go to a different church where, they don't feel so unusual or uncomfortable. Eve's Angels, a perfect example. Eve's Angels, is about helping the women who are into the sex industry, helping them get out of it, and very few churches are willing to really open their doors to these women in their transition period. So, if the Catholic Church is not willing to open their doors to sinners, then they're no different, seriously, than any other denomination. Okay? Jesus gave Peter the example. He got down on his hands and knees and he washed the feet of Peter, and he says, "You have to do this, or you'll have nothing to do with me." So until we're willing to wash the feet of sinners, like Jesus did, you can hold on to the doctrinal purity all you want, but St. Paul was clear. He said, "Without love, you have nothing." So if you think knowing all the right doctrines is going to get you to heaven, then, good luck. That's all I can tell you. Good luck, because you're not really following Scripture at all. That's not what Jesus said. That's not what he taught. Okay? And St. Paul couldn't have been more clear about love being the greatest gift. And he said, without love, you have nothing. Okay? So it's easy to love your family. Okay? But it's not easy to love, former crack addict, or a former homeless person, or, former dancer, go-go dancer, former pornographer, whatever, sins there are. These people are not easy to love. Okay? So let's get right down to the heart of the matter. And for Michael to bring up child molesters in the same, context as birth control, cohabitating, and enjoying perverted sex, I'm just saying here, so what ultimately does our Blessed Mother want? And I think it's divine mercy. She wants the sinners as much as her son does. I came to save the unrighteous, not the righteous, the sick. That's why he came. Okay, but our churches are just not doing it. They're just not doing it. We got to admit that. So, stop always thinking the worst of people, Michael. And if these cardinals and bishops are really sincere about helping sinners, then they should be providing, they should be hiring people, seriously, hiring people if they need to be paid to do that work of helping the sinners in their gradual acceptance of church teaching. That's what needs to happen. And if you can find people to volunteer to do that, that's great as well. But this is not something that is like, an afterthought. I mean, this should be like a major, at the heart of every parish, they should have a plan in place. So Louis Verrecchio is still hitting hard against Pope Francis, and but I will say this: Louis is now directing people to Our Lady of Fatima, that she can save the church from what's going on, and that is very commendable, and I do support Louis for that. He just doesn't see what Pope Francis is doing is in line with our Blessed Mother. At least he doesn't see it yet. Okay, and I'm listening to everyone's arguments, against Pope Francis, and every time I hear somebody say, he's hurting the church, next thing you know, he's blessing the exorcists. The devil's real. He's blessing exorcists. He's telling people that the devil's real and that possession is real and that there's priests that are willing to help deal with demons in people's lives and evil spirits. So, you haven't convinced me that the Pope is an enemy of the Church, the Catholic Church, Jesus Christ, and the Blessed Mother. You have not convinced me. So the people who support Pope Francis because they think he's going to change church teaching, and there are plenty of people like that. I ran into a guy who was saying, oh yeah, Pope Francis supports gay marriage. No, he doesn't. He doesn't. Okay. So there are people who are hoping that Pope Francis will, change whatever, but he's not going to, because that's not his job. His job is not to change the truth. But how that truth is conveyed to people, I think there's some flexibility. And I totally think that our churches would be better, if we weren't so stiff and just insensitive to hurting people, because hurting people can get better. There's a lot of better people who used to be hurting, and they can thank, non-denominational church or AA or NA, or yoga. You know how many people got off of drugs through yoga and Yogi Bhajan? Study the history of the hippie movement. So, people who are hurting are going to go where they feel welcome. They're not going to go where they don't feel welcome. It's just not going to happen. And so if you want to claim that you are part of the true church established by Jesus Christ, fullness of truth resides within, no salvation outside the church, okay, and you're going to uphold all the doctrines and not even care that people are hurting and, in bondage to pornography, sex slaves, I mean, come on. It goes on and on and on, the addictions that people are struggling with. So you just can't separate doctrine from the heart of God. If you have heartless doctrine, it really doesn't impress God at all. Your heartless doctrine doesn't impress God. The Pharisees had heartless doctrine. They would say, yeah, you honor God, or you rest on the Sabbath, for God. Yet they crucified God. So don't kid yourself, okay? Don't kid yourself. Michael, you're on very, very shaky ground, in my opinion. You're very shaky ground. I really understand, the urgency of the situation. We all see it. I'm so frustrated with the church, it's not even funny. Okay, I see stuff going on, even in Steubenville, Ohio. After Mass Sunday, St. Peter's Catholic Church, the priest, the pastor talked about the synod. Didn't mention Pope Francis. I walk out, I shake his hand, I said, Father, I said, do you support Pope Francis? He looks at me right in the eyes and he says, I am not going to answer you. Okay? Pastor at St. Peter's, named after the first pope, can't answer me whether or not he supports Pope Francis. So that's how serious this is. There's many, many confused people. They don't know what to think. And so you are contributing, Michael, to, a serious movement of skepticism, and really it's like, there's gonna be a split. There's no question about it. This kind of stuff can't go on. So you're either going to split with the Pope or without the Pope. And I'm sure everybody would prefer that to split with the Pope and put Cardinal Pope Benedict back in there, because everybody was, the Latin Mass and everything like that. They loved Pope Benedict. So how are you going to get Pope Benedict back in there? So it's coming down to, who's in control when the split happens. If Pope Francis is in control when the split happens, then you're going against Pope Francis. If someone else, and how is that going to happen? How is somebody else going to get in control? How's Cardinal Ratzinger or Pope Benedict going to get back in control? This is where it's heading. And there have been popes who have died mysteriously, and I can see where, this, the tension and the hatred and is thick, and it's growing, and people are crazy enough, so Pope Francis's life is definitely in danger, and he's not backing down. I can tell you that right now. He's going to continue to do what God's asked him to do. So we just need to evangelize, welcome sinners, fight abortion, try to help people who are in crisis pregnancy, try to help people who've had abortions get healed, people coming out of the devil's world. We're supposed to be helping them get healed. That's really where our hearts should be. Okay? Thank you.